We have all been there. You feel a deep and undeniable pull to do something. Change your career, end a draining relationship, or start a creative project. Your intuition loudly screams that it is the exact right path. Yet, you freeze. Paralyzed by endless overthinking and a desperate need for external validation, you do absolutely nothing. Why do we betray our own inner compass? Can ancient Stoicism conquer this modern paralysis? We live in an era that worships the intellect, often at the expense of our fundamental intuition. Every day, we are bombarded by endless streams of data, conflicting advice, and the heavy weight of societal expectations. When faced with a crucial decision, our modern instinct is to build a spreadsheet of pros and cons, to seek out the opinions of dozens of peers, and to analyze the situation until all the vitality has been completely drained from it. This is the paradox of our age. We have more access to information than any generation in human history, yet we are profoundly crippled by indecision. We are terrified of making a mistake. We are terrified of looking foolish. We are terrified of stepping out of the lines drawn for us by others. But beneath this thick layer of anxiety, there is almost always a quiet voice, a subtle internal compass pointing true north. You know what you need to do. You can feel it in your gut, a profound sense of rightness that defies logical explanation. Yet, we have been trained to distrust this feeling. We dismiss it as irrational. We bury it under layers of skepticism. We wait for a perfect moment, a flawless guarantee of success, before we are willing to take a single step. And so, we wait. And we waste our lives waiting. This tension between what we feel is right and what our overactive minds tell us is safe is not a new problem. It is a fundamental human struggle. And it is precisely here, in the messy battlefield of indecision, that ancient philosophy offers a lifeline. Specifically, the philosophy of Stoicism. Historically, Stoicism was born in the era of Hellenism, and it truly consolidated and found its most practical applications during the Roman Empire. At that time, traditional Greek philosophy had begun to lose its metaphysical depth, turning more toward the sciences. But the study of sciences alone did not bring happiness to humanity. The path that emerged was a moral philosophy, an art of living that idealized the life of the wise person, based squarely on the practice of virtue. Stoicism is often misunderstood today as a philosophy of emotionless repression. People imagine the Stoic as a cold, calculating machine, devoid of feeling. But this is a profound distortion. Stoicism does not ask us to kill our intuition. It asks us to refine it. It provides a framework to validate our deepest sense of rightness and gives us the courage to act upon it, even when the external world demands otherwise. To understand how Stoicism helps us act, we must first understand how the Stoics viewed the universe and our place within it. For the ancient Stoics, the universe was an infinite, living, and unitary matter from which all beings emerged in their multiplicity. They believed that the soul of the universe sleeps in the heart of the fire, not physical fire, but an igneous ether from which everything originates and to which everything returns. Life is an eternal cycle, repeating rhythmically in an evolutionary path. This means that the profound intuition you feel, that deep, unshakable sense of what is right, is not necessarily a random misfiring of neurons. The first fire, or the spirit, is present in all beings. Marco Aurelio himself wrote, "Honor in the universe the greatest of forces, honor also within your person the greatest of forces. This is of the same nature as that. Your internal compass is a spark of that greater rational order. When you feel a strong urge to act in a way that is just, courageous, or true, you are aligning with the fundamental nature of the universe. The problem arises when we allow our personal fears and our desperate need for comfort to drown out this internal fire. We convince ourselves that taking a risk is a bad thing because it might lead to failure or discomfort. But the Stoics had a very different definition of good and bad. They understood that in everything that happens, we can observe the play of two forces, necessity and finality. There is a law that makes the facts of our existence necessary, and a finality that simultaneously makes them useful and meaningful. Therefore, the things we often label as bad are merely a lack of knowledge, which provokes, as a reaction, the right knowledge, even if it is through pain. If you feel it is right to speak the truth, but you fear the social backlash, the modern mind tells you to stay quiet. The Stoic mind tells you that the social backlash is merely an external event, necessary for your growth, and entirely outside of your control. Your only true possession is your character, your willingness to act in accordance with virtue. As we often explore a new Acropolis, the real battle is internal. The philosophy of living is not about controlling the world around you, but about mastering the world within you. When you align your actions with virtue, you tap into a source of power that external circumstances cannot touch. This brings us to one of the most vital and most misunderstood concepts in Stoicism, Ataraxia. Today, if we think of peace or tranquility, we imagine sitting on a beach with no responsibilities. We imagine an absence of action. But the Ataraxia of the Stoics should not be interpreted as an unproductive quietness. On the contrary, it is the peace that comes directly from virtue and interior harmony. The human being conquers their own passions to the extent that they know them. Stoicism attempts to substitute these passions, or what makes the soul suffer, with intelligent and active contemplation. When you are paralyzed by overthinking, your soul is suffering. You are trapped in a storm of passions, fear of the future, anxiety about opinions, regret over the past. You are in a state of internal war. How do you achieve ataraxia? By acting on what is right. Peace does not come from avoiding difficult decisions. It comes from confronting them with virtue. When you finally make the choice that your inner fire has been demanding, the noise stops. The anxiety dissipates. You may face external difficulties as a result of your choice, but internally, you are completely untouchable. You have achieved harmony. The Stoics repeatedly proposed that the principal school of harmonization is found in nature, so that the rhythm of nature can also manifest in humanity. Vice is reduced, in this case, to the incoherence of the human being in relation to nature. When you ignore your deepest intuitions in favor of societal pressures, you are acting incoherently. You are fighting against your own nature. It is this internal friction that causes your paralysis and your pain. To act on what feels truly right, provided it aligns with courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance, is to step into the flow of nature. It is the ultimate act of liberation. But how do we know if our intuition is truly aligned with virtue, or if it is just a disguised impulse born of ego or fear? This is where the Stoic filter becomes essential. Stoicism does not tell you to blindly follow every whim. It tells you to examine your feelings through the lens of reason. When you feel a pull to act, pause. Ask yourself, is this action courageous? Is it just? Does it demonstrate temperance and wisdom? If the urge is to quit a difficult project simply because it is hard, that is not intuition. That is the passion of fear, and it lacks courage. If the urge is to lash out in anger at a colleague, that lacks temperance and justice. But if the urge is to finally step away from a lucrative career that compromises your morals to pursue a path of genuine service, that requires immense courage and wisdom, that is the inner fire speaking. This process of filtering and acting is the very essence of human freedom. Freedom, for the Stoic, is not the ability to do whatever you want without consequences. Freedom is being able to uniform human will with divine necessity. As the ancient maxim goes, free is he who freely obeys what necessarily happens. You cannot control the outcome of your actions. You cannot control if your new business will succeed, or if the person you love will return your affection, but you are completely free to choose the action that is right. This is the great relief of Stoicism. It lifts the unbearable burden of the future off your shoulders. You do not have to predict the outcome. You only have to ensure the integrity of the action. This aligns with the timeless approach of New Acropolis, philosophy as a living practice, a daily exercise in aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions. When you stop obsessing over the results and focus entirely on the virtue of the decision itself, hesitation evaporates. You act because it is right, not because it is guaranteed to be safe. The wise, harmonized, and free human being, in a word, the virtuous human being, is also a happy human being. Happiness is intimately related to the practice of virtue and the consciousness of duty. We often view duty as a burden, a heavy obligation imposed upon us by society. But true duty is an internal calling. It is the responsibility you have to your own highest nature. The entire Stoic doctrine summarizes a sense of conscious and serenely happy activity, where duty does not have the bitterness of endlessly ruminated ideas, but rather the joy of action beyond any rewards. When you act on what feels right, you are fulfilling your duty to yourself and to the cosmos. You are no longer a passive victim of circumstance, paralyzed by fear. You become an active participant in the unfolding of life. Rome contributed the idea of citizens of the world, a humanity united by its very nature, regardless of superficial differences. We all share this capacity for virtue. We all share this internal fire. The next time you feel that deep pull, that undeniable intuition, do not drown it in endless analysis. Do not seek permission from a world that is just as confused as you are. Test the feeling against the virtues of courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. If it stands strong, if it aligns with your highest self, then act. Act without a guarantee of success. Act without the need for applause. Act simply because it is the right thing to do. In that single moment of decisive, virtuous action, you will find a peace and a freedom that no amount of overthinking could ever provide. You will finally be alive. The true test of philosophy is not reading about it, but living it. As we have seen, aligning your actions with your deepest values requires constant practice. This is exactly what we teach at New Acropolis. We are not just a YouTube channel. New Acropolis has dozens of physical schools spread across the United States. We offer a community for those who want to practice this philosophy in real life and turn ancient wisdom into daily action. If you found value in this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Did you ever hesitate to act on your intuition? Check the links in the description to find a local branch near you. Start your journey today and walk forward.